Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Phil from Dogman Teepee hunting. I see you have found your way into the Fox Den for another episode of LordeStarfox Radio and Midnight Lycanthropy. I've been sleeping for so long, though, I really do need to attend to feasting. Absolutely delicious, and thank you for allowing me to replenish myself and lost nutrients. Now that that has been taken care of, it is time for myself and Dogman Teepee hunting to take a walk into the madness.
Stood up. I said, oh my god, it's a werewolf, and everybody in the car freaked out.
My creatures of the night, once again, you are tuning in to another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on LordeStarfox Radio. Phil from Dogman Teepee hunting again has made his way into the Fox Den to sit down and set up the late night fire for us as we burn the timber into the early hours of the morning, while reading again a few chapters from the Midnight Society book. Phil, my guy, how you been?
I'm good. Thanks, Kenny. Not too bad. Thank you for having me on, and I want to say hello to everyone.
Of course, I appreciate your time. You've been busy, as have I. Yeah, it's always good to sit down bi-weekly and try to figure out some interesting stuff. What have you been up to, man?
Yeah, well, I've been doing quite a few lives and covering a few topics because I do Dogman encrypted, but also paranormal and ghosts and things that go bump in the night. And so yeah, it's been busy. Been doing a lot of lives. I do a live every Friday now from 7 p.m. in GMT in the UK time. And I cover the weekly topics, what's really been going on, and kind of, not on Facebook, on posts, on people sending me stuff, kind of like keeping up with it and letting everyone know and share. And if anyone wants to send in material, I kind of like show it there live on video. So yeah, that keeps me busy. At the moment, because of my leg being a bit out of action because I'm still recovering from the hip replacement operation. I haven't managed to get out. There's about 3 different separate woods that I've had reports of. One has been really interesting, missing dogs. Dogs have been let off the lead, and when they've been let off the lead, they've just run off. They've run off, haven't come back to the owner, still haven't. And there's like signs being posted up on trees and around the local area of these dogs. There's been about 3 different dogs that have just gone missing in this one wood. And it's a head scratcher because you think to yourself, hang on a minute, dogs get hungry, they'd want to come back. I spoke to one lady who's the owner of the dog, owner of this dog, and it's not a pup. These are not puppies. These are dogs which are 4, 5, 6 years old, which they know who their human mother is. Do you know what I mean? They know where the food's coming from, the comfort. They know where the warm house is. They're to just disappear, not to come back. Yeah, to run off and have a play. But you'd think after a little while, and this woman's been, at wit's end. And she's had her family out. I've helped. But yeah, sight, no sight, hair, nothing of this dog at all. There's two others as well, much in the same wood that I want to really get to if I can. And when I do, I'll give you an update on that. I will give you an update. It's got a bit of history to that wood as well. So yeah, that'll be an interesting one. It's just trying to get my leg back in gear, but I'm getting there slowly. Other than that, it's been an interesting week. How's your week been?
Staying busy right there. Excellent stuff. And yeah, you can't rush that, man. It's got to take it with a grain of salt. When you get better, you can get out there and start exploring some more stuff that
Yeah.
you'd like to do. And to answer your question, like I was saying before we start recording, all I do is edit and work on art for my videos, eat, plus have to share them all around. That's probably my least favorite thing to do is go in all these groups that have invited me in there, probably like 30 to 40 groups that I have to just share my video around, back out, put it in, back out. And honestly, it takes about like 35 minutes to do that, to share it to all the Discords, to Twitter or X or whatever. I guess it's one of those things. It's a lesser of two evils. But besides that, before we start diving into some interesting stuff tonight that you have on tap, I have been looking into a case that occurred in Scotland from a gentleman that his name was Finney. He was an outdoorsman that was a survivalist. Dude just vanished. They found some of his belongings potentially washed up on shore, but when they looked through this entire channel or canal, they didn't find anything in there because originally they thought maybe he had set up a camera to show how you had to swim across, but no remains were in the water. They're completely baffled. He was up in the Scottish Highlands, and I just have a feeling something snagged him.
Yeah, yeah. We do you know, every now and then you get a strange case like that. You just get a strange case where somebody going about their business and they just disappear. We had a case. I'm not going to name the lady because she has family, obviously, so I don't want to name it. But there was a famous case that happened not too long ago, a couple of years ago, and she was out. Okay, she went out in the morning. She went out walking her dog in her hometown, small town, not huge, and she made a telephone call to her friend, and the telephone call was along the lines of the police could kind of have got the facility to intercept it and recall it and all this, but it was along the line of, sure, no problem, let's meet later. I'll bring little, let's just say Johnny for a name. I'll bring little Johnny, and yeah, we can they can have a play date. How about that? Yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah, so her and her friend were planning on having a play date, not more than an hour into her walk. She was like walking along, and it was a canal, and this canal just meanders through the town. Okay, and she was walking along this open common. So all of a sudden, soon after the telephone call, they found on a bench was her mobile phone, and her dog was going absolutely crazy, barking at this small stretch of open water, which was a stream, a small stream running through it. She was walking along with her dog, and famous case, very famous case, a couple of years ago, and she just disappeared. Now they eventually found her. They found her body, but for the longest time, everyone was scratching their head because they found her quite a ways away, right down the other end of town along the stream. But it was a mystery how she got there, because if you can imagine it, when I say stream, I mean a stream. It wasn't a river, wasn't rapids, wasn't fast moving. And this woman is a full grown woman. She was in her 30s, late 30s, and she was meant to, people were saying, hang on a minute. So she put her time to put her mobile phone on the bench. She then left her dog tied to the bench, then jumped in the water. For what reason? And then the water, which is a stream, took her. She, became unconscious for some reason and took her down to the other end of town in the stream. And you're like, that was some days later before she was found. They had police helicopters, they had thermal imaging, and they never found her body for about 3-4 days. And you just think to yourself, when you're watching this and you're looking up, you think, that's not possible, is it? That's a strange series of events. It's like the guy you're talking about in Scotland. What a strange. And a lot of these times they kind of like leave behind. I think he left clothing behind. And you think to yourself, look, if you would if you would go into a situation where you're going to jump into the river, then what would it be for? In a lot of these cases, it's odd that they don't release the autopsy report. It's not made public. And you just sort of think to yourself, why don't they release the autopsy report? Why isn't that public then? And that has happened so many times. You think, oh, just doesn't add up. Some of these things just don't add up. But yeah, I do know that Finnegan. Yeah, Finnegan
So
has got.
bizarre, right? Also, I do, as you were speaking, remember another case of a woman in your area. I can't remember if she got out of her car or if she was walking, but when they found her, something had pulled her pretty far off into like the field or the forest. It had shown signs of predation on her. It was a pretty recent case, and I'm not sure if you remember that off the top of your head.
No, not off the top of my head. Unless that was down in Kent or Sussex. Was it the one in Sussex that happened?
That
That
sounds
woman?
about right. I don't have my book right in front of me right now because I did just climb up out of my
Yeah. If
casket to
it's
link up with you, and I'm on my
no,
good old
sure.
tablet.
Yeah. No, if it's the one down south, because obviously where I am, I'm in Essex, which is
Mhm.
near to London, just north of London, sort of very, very close to Suffolk. Surrey, Essex is kind of like more down south of England. But yeah, there was a case. There was a case down there of, as you say, yeah, I do know that one. Yeah, of a woman, and they found her in the woods, and the woods were really close by where her car was found, not too far away at all. And it did look, there was drag marks as well
Mhm.
going into the forest, as if she was held underneath her shoulder blades and dragged
Oh,
backwards.
crazy.
That's what they believe. Yeah.
And
Um,
asking you because you're over there, I do know you have foxes, and I do try to tell everybody animals reclaim their territory. Here in the United States right now, we have 11 jaguars, probably more that are up in Arizona right now that are coming back up from South America to claim their habitat that they used to have because they're protected now. The reason
hmm.
I say that is even though at points in time in history, it seems that Europe tried to eradicate the majority of predators that were involved in livestock, doesn't mean that they wouldn't come back at points in time, meaning bears and wolves and things have plenty of land where they could re-venture into areas like Scotland or other spots in the UK. Just really makes me think, even though you're not being told that there are potentially remnants of those predators, there has to be something still kicking around because there's not like a magic line. Okay. So here in Maine, right, we don't have grizzly bears, or so they say. But you go up to Canada, which is connected to Maine, and you cross the Canadian border, all of a sudden you head into areas where there could be grizzly bears and such. What causes this grizzly bear to all of a sudden walk across the Maine border? Oh, I'm in Maine. I can't be here right now. Or same thing with
Yeah.
like California. Oh, nope, I'm in California. I got to turn around
Yeah.
and head back up to Canada.
Yeah.
I just think there is more going on because same thing. California used to have a ton of grizzly bears. Again, I believe the last one was unalived somewhere in the 1800s, not that long ago. But you have a plentiful population right up north in Canada. I don't think they wouldn't just come back down. I could be missing something though.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. There's not, there's not some. They're not going to, as you say, just wander up to the border and go, oh, no, I can't, I've got the passport. No, I can't do that. No, have a bit. Yeah, no. I better not. No, because it'll be just like sunglasses and Hawaiian t-shirt. I'm not going to do that one. No. So yeah, it doesn't suit me. Not my fur. So yeah, they're not going to do that, are they? You're quite right. And yeah, we do have predatory animals like foxes. That's about what we have over here, because a lot of we used to have wolves, an awful lot over here. That's why one of the reasons why, you see the dog collars, and dog collars have got the studs on that people go into
Yes.
pet shops and they buy. Yeah, that's the whole reason why they used to have studs, but they used to have
Gotcha.
spikes. It's
Yeah,
because
because they go for the neck. Yep.
yeah, they go for the neck. So they would put their own animals with a security
Ah,
band around the neck with spikes. So that was the whole reason. But it's just sort of carried on there for looks now, but for aesthetics. But it doesn't really work with my dog because his little word part Chihuahua, part terrier. He looks a bit stupid with studded a studded collar on. Looks a bit silly, but tiny little thing, little small legs. But yeah, he thinks he looks well hard in it though. He only wears it every now and then. But yeah, it's it is there is something there is in our woods, like things now being released like wild boar. So we have had wild boar released over here. I did hear that we had things like not bison, but something else as well. Um, we have got like Highland cattle with massive big horns.
yeah, the Scotland cat. You have these little mini cats that are so damn cute, bro, that I wish I could have one as a
Yeah.
pet.
Oh, aren't they lovely? I know. I
Yes.
know. They are so cute. They are so cute. I know. They are lovely. Yeah, little like pick-me ones, aren't they? Tiny little things. They're
Yeah, they're
gorgeous.
just so cool. It looks like a little mini like leopard or something, and it's just surviving in the middle of the Scottish Highlands that everybody else has trouble living up there, and it seems to
Yeah,
be fine.
yeah. Scotland's a wonderful place. If you ever get, I would recommend to you, if you ever get a chance to come over, go to Scotland and go somewhere like Loch Lomond, around that area, because the woods are around there. Oh my word, just rife with. It's one of those places where you go to the woods and you can't imagine it being in that at night, because
Mhm.
you will get lost, and you just know, you get a feeling in there. You get a feeling there's something predatory and big in there. It's whether it's your primordial mind kicking in, and you think, oh, I don't know, but yeah, it's a really wild place. Another good place is North Wales. If you ever get a chance,
Yep.
North Wales has some very, very rugged terrain. And I've seen a lot of Dogman evidence in North Wales. Um, uh, an awful lot. So yeah, it's well worth. It's beautiful places. And as I say, very old. We have went to remember going to a church in Wales, not a church, castle. Get this, right? Walking through the woods, I was like looking for evidence of dogmen. Minding my own business, as you do, and I came across this castle in the middle of the woods. I was like, what? And now castles predominantly would be built at high ground, because if they're on high ground, they can see the enemy coming from miles away, and it's easier to defend from. This was a very special castle. Nobody knows why it was built in the wood, and nobody knows why it was built in a kind of a hollow, if you like. It was at the bottom, at the lowest point, with tree line higher than the castle around it. And the history of this castle, nobody knows why. No one knows why it was built, or who built it that way. But yeah, I found a lot of dogman evidence found that place as well. So we've got some really wonderful places to visit. As you have in the States. It is, and it is everywhere. We haven't got the big things like the big bears that you have. Um, we haven't got those. I haven't got coyotes. We don't have those. But we're kind of we've got our fair share of cryptids. I know that for a fact. We've got our fair share of cryptid witness reports coming out from the woods over here, and it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating to read. Hmm.
That is some pretty gnarly stuff right there for sure. I covered a case from Scotland, specifically in Shetland, where there was some strange, had howling that was occurring through this pretty small little village. And also, there's some other people from the Scotland area. You'll probably know there's like an old castle that there's some of it left. It's not in the shape it used to be. But these people saw what looked to be a younger, strange looking, feral, wolf like being wearing clothing playing in the mud. And when they approached it, thinking at first it might have been a person, it turned around and then just bolted off. Really interesting stuff for sure.
Odd, isn't it odd? Strange stuff. Absolutely strange. I know. It's I don't know. It's we've had for years over here accounts going back hundreds and hundreds of years, accounts of what they call woodwoes, which is a large humanoid hairy man, and is usually carved into ancient old church doors and pews of a church. And he's depicted as being really tall, quite hairy, looking like a Sasquatch, but holding a club. Yeah. And you just think, and this goes back 15th century, 16th century, and you're like, what the hell? Why, what? And so, and it's not something that it's a strange one. It's you have the old mythology of what they call the green man of the woods. Yeah, this being, this entity which um, uh, uh, is at one. The original tree hugger, okay, the original liberal tree hugger. He would look green. He would look, and he'd be depicted with uh, like a Navy SEAL in the middle of a jungle with bits of twig coming out of his hair and leaves everywhere, and but he lived in the forest, and he was at one with the forest, and he was a more of a kind of like a entity, but very integrated into the psyche at that time, into the culture of society. The Green Man was, and once again, a really large guy, really huge, and long hair, almost like a hermit, if you like, of the woods. But yeah, very famous kind of uh, you know, folklore, really, very famous folklore. And we have that going back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and I don't think these entities disappear. I think they are, it's what people often see. We still see them, and it's one of those things where it's just sort of, yeah, it's just very odd. It was a very odd thing, and um, but what I wanted to cover, if I could, Kelly, this week is just really quickly is the importance of what I call like the free accountables. Okay, so right, so this week, okay, I'm not going to name any names, right, because the person in question is not here to defend himself. It's not right. Okay, but I had a potential guest, and this potential guest was a person who was an investigator, and he investigated. It was in another country, and he investigated and found out information and details, and spoke to witnesses who saw a dog-headed a dog's head on almost a tiger's body, right? And the fascinating part is it would come out into the village, into these small villages in India, are very impoverished, are very, they're quite, poor villages, in India. And they have their dogs running around all over the place, the domesticated sort of dogs running around. But it would come out at night and it would grab dogs. It would bite them about the neck, unalive them, sorry.
Same
Yeah,
difference.
I know. I got to think about it. And and then get this, it would then flick them onto its back and take them off into the jungle to eat. So with things like leopards and animals like that, predatory animals, they will take what is easy to unlive
Yeah.
and drag it into the jungle that way, but they won't go very far. They'll try and eat as quick as possible and move on, because as they're moving their prey, it's leaving them vulnerable, so they're not going to move them very far. This thing would, and it would move it quite some distance because it would be on its back. Very unusual. So I asked him about this thing, and and I saw a couple of videos that he had. Now, I took great credibility in the videos because he was talking on the videos to locals in India, to locals in the village who've had their dogs taken, and he was like asking them, and they were going, "Yeah, we had our dogs taken. It was dreadful, it was awful. Just came out of nowhere, but we heard it. We didn't see it so much, but we heard it, and our dog just disappeared." And blah, blah. Now, what got me was the guy himself, because the investigator that I approached was absolutely emphatic, 150% sure that he had evidence of it. Now, the moment he said that, being the person I am, I said, "Really? Interesting. What evidence do you have then?" Because it's a cryptid. If someone said they saw Dogman and they got evidence of Dogman, you would be a fool not to ask, what kind of evidence have you got? Is it DNA evidence? Is it hair sample? Is it tissue sample? Do you have a specimen? It would be something tangible, something that you can get your teeth into, pardon the pun, something you can analyze. So, repeated experiment on, just to check it, to see where its origin came from. Anyway, I asked him and I said, "Well, what evidence do you have?" "Oh yeah, I've got evidence. So I dug a little bit deeper because he gave me links, and I checked the links, and these links took me to blogs that he'd done, and quite detailed blogs, where it had a lot of information. He said that he went to the this meeting in a certain part of India, which was where the Prime Minister was there, and there was a big association there of zoologists, and and he presented his work there, and but I dug a little bit deeper, and I found holes in his story, and I was like, right, okay, right. And I went back to him and I said, "Look, I've read through all your stuff, and because I've read through all your stuff, because you said to me that the answers are in there, the evidence that I seek is in there." And I said, "To be honest with you, I've been through it, but I haven't seen any evidence. I've seen a lot of references. I've seen a lot of, a lot of testimony, but we're talking evidence here. And you said 150% that you had evidence. So, um, uh, and he didn't get back to me, and it was a kind of a case of well, you're obviously, he said, he was saying to me that you're obviously it's my fault that I didn't see the evidence in his links and his testimony and his material that he had written down." And I said, "Well," I scratched my head, I said, "Well, yeah, but it's stuff you've written down. It's testimony, a witness testimony, da 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 da. Have you got anything more? I need something more to go on." I said, "Because if I'm going to have you on as a guest, or we talk about this, then it's my name going against it as well, because I'm going to say, 'Oh, yeah, thank you for joining. Yeah, nice talking to you, and today I've got blah blah on talking about, he's got 100% proof of blah blah, and to say to the public that you've got 100% proof, they're going to want some kind of proof. They're going to want something more than a statement. They're going to want something. So, yeah. So, and it got me onto the thinking, to be honest, that and I know it's a little bit, and don't switch off now. All right, I'm not rambling. All right, and it is pertaining to Dogman. It is pertaining to Dogman, but it got me thinking about witnesses, and it got me thinking about the whole witness and investigatory nature of the business we're in. So a lot of the business that we're in is uh, quite fringe. It's very fringe. Okay, we're talking about a entity that is often seen but rarely proven, if ever proven. But so it is very fringe. If it wasn't for a lot of credible witnesses stepping forward, I probably would have given up years ago. Being that I witnessed stuff myself when it came to Dogman, that got me onto it. But I was thinking to myself, and I thought, do you know what? There's three different categories, really, isn't there? There's like investigators. So there's people that probably haven't had a witness, witnessed anything themselves, but they investigate. But they've never actually witnessed anything themselves. But they're interested, and they've got that spark of interest there to go out, to go to different places, to take maybe casts if they find footprints, to ask locals, which is great and brilliant. That works. But that only also works if they are honest and don't elaborate on what they have got, because there's an eager audience out there, and I'm also one that, because we've witnessed stuff, we want it to know what it is. We want to know where it comes from. So we're eager. We know we've seen it. We know we're not mad. I'm sure there's other people listening to this that know they're not mad. I'm not mad. I've seen stuff. I've seen the Dogman. I'm sure I've seen the Dogman, more than once. I've heard the wood knocks. I've heard different stuff. I'm not mad. I wouldn't make it up for making up's sake, especially wouldn't lie to myself. So, so for investigators have to really rely on them, that they because they haven't had an experience themselves, we have to rely on their honesty in their investigation, and we have to rely on how what their end game is. If they haven't witnessed anything and they're just investigating, what is their end game? What is it for? And that is quite important. Then we move on. We got witnesses themselves. And witnesses themselves, from our point of view, when we talk to witnesses, I know Kenny will say the same. It's kind of like, it can be a bit of a mixed bag. A lot of times with the witnesses I've spoken to, they have what's the word? A lot of times this Dogman enigma that we come across only projects itself and only brings itself forward, only shows itself to people that it chooses, if you like. It kind of tags people. It won't just turn up in the fresh meat aisle of Walmart, in front of hundreds of people. It'll be a very personal experience to that person, and also it if you can imagine, it has almost a PTSD effect on that person. A lot of witnesses I've spoken to, and I'm sure with Kenny exactly the same. You have to be careful and ask appropriate questions. And sometimes a lot of witnesses, the ones which take the longest to come on air, are sometimes usually the best ones. Do you find that, Kenny?
That's all very absolutely interesting, epic, and intriguing stuff for sure. It all really, I feel, boils down to the individual's quality of who they are as a human being, more or less. Meaning, yeah, if someone's about hoaxing, they're probably going to try to spam that everywhere and roll with it until somebody brings, I don't know, some dirt on them, right? And then they kind of just disappear into the oblivion. But then, yeah, you have some other people I know that sit on encounters for a while because they are potentially scared of ridicule and stuff. Luckily for me, I've always been a rock star, as my friends and family would say about me. I've always had colors in my hair back in high school, ripped up jeans, studded belts, painted my fingernails, man. Yes, I have no problem just being creative, right?
Yeah.
Well, again, though, sometimes people are going to handle ridicule differently. My whole entire life, man, people have tried to assess my character. Doesn't matter. If anything, my creativity tends to have me be loved by the people that do enjoy me, right? I handle that stuff quite well. I don't care. I don't get any sort of discouragement. Go right ahead. I mean, I have the intellect, I have the science team, I have the hosts, I have the evidence, the vocalizations to present quality evidence. Meaning, just because I might dress like a rock star and somebody thinks that is too flamboyant, etc., whatever, man, go ahead, try to take those little pokes. But at the end of the day, all the educational aspects and the presentation is still there for sure, which is something that I've always tried to just help individuals get that out there. Meaning, like I just said to you, I've dealt with that. I still continuously deal with it. Like the individual I was telling you about before we started recording tonight that likes to use all those slurs and things that no one should use, but people would have been using back in like the 80s, right? And also, apparently, because I'm creative and I use a vampire like gimmick, I'm a demon, and my friends and such are witches and demons. It's really funny, man. Always trying to take that stuff with a grain of salt, but I think there's a lot of people out there that can't really handle that type of ridicule, I guess. It's no different than sports players, man. So you can see somebody play in a small market that no one cares about, right? No one's watching it. No one's really going to the games. This guy, I'm going to use hockey because I'm a big hockey reference. He's making all these crazy saves and looks unbelievable. But then you put him in a big market like Boston or New York or places where people, love their sports. They'll start chanting, "You suck." They will diss you on social media. You can definitely see the type of people that are able to handle that, and then others that disappear. All of a sudden, their stats drop. They start not being able to perform because they can't handle the criticism. It goes hand in hand with anything. If you are going to put yourself out to the public, you got to make sure to be able to handle the criticism, and take it with a grain of salt. Do I respond to all my positive comments? Of course. Do I respond to my negative ones? Not really. Maybe saying something like, "Hey, thanks for popping in. I appreciate you." But I never dive into defending myself to the initial comment or anything along the lines of that. Meaning, some gentleman was like, "All right, 10 minutes in, still haven't heard anything." Then he leaves another comment. "Oh, now you're bleeping out something. You're ruining freedom of speech. I'm out of here." And I just responded to him with, "Hey, man, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate the support." Then he responded back with something else dumb. And I just gave him, again, like the little prayer hands and the fox head. But like I said, I just encourage anyone out there. I mean, don't even dive into that. Just make sure that you put yourself around the people that are going to, sit down and listen to you. And before I forget, you being a Sasquatch investigator as well, I encourage you and anyone else out there, even though I don't specifically dive into that topic, we have a lot of credence and scientific evidence supporting that. When you hear the wood knocking, that is their way of telling you to get the hell out of their territory. People that continuously pursue that tend to have the negative encounters. People that bang back on the tree, same thing. Again, we can't fully prove it, but we think it's their way of saying, yo, get the F out of here. If you continue to walk in that direction or start banging on trees back, you're going to have a horribly negative interaction.
Okay. Yeah. That's yeah. That's really good. That's really deep,
Yeah,
man.
it's just one of those things, like I said, from people I've heard in the past and such. Every time there's the wood knock and these people continue in that direction, they set up camp, they start trying to do
Yeah.
vocalizations back or banging trees back. They then
Mm,
have rocks thrown at them. They have things shaking their cabins, shaking their
yeah.
tents, etc.
Yeah.
It just seems to point in the direction that it's their way of, like I said, just get out of here, you know?
Mm. I think anyone listening to this first, I think first of all, you made a mute point absolutely bang on when you said about anyone out there that has or is being victimized or harassed, whatever form that's in a belittling manner or just trying to have a dig at you. The old adage of what doesn't unalive you makes you stronger. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying here? It makes you stronger in a way. So kind of adopt the thing of sometimes when you smile at people who are being nasty, it hurts them even more. So just smile
Yeah.
at them and walk on by, dude. I think that's a really good point. That's a really good point. Confrontation is not the way to go. It's not the way
No.
to go.
And like you
Uh,
said, I just try to be a nice person no matter what. So I don't even like to get
no,
into altercations. And even if
no.
somebody hates me, man, if they were laying on the side of the road and they needed help, I'd still help them.
Yeah, same here. I must admit, same here. I would, um, I couldn't just sort of walk on by. No, I couldn't do that. I might slap them about a bit and say they're having a nightmare, and to wake up, you're having a nightmare, and slap them about a bit while they're on the ground. But that would be about it. If they come to, I'd be like, don't worry about it. You're having a nightmare. Don't worry. And but no, with the wood knocks, that's a really funny thing. I spoke to a gentleman that you probably have heard of, especially in the States. He runs the Zanu camp, Mr. Matthew A. Johnson. Now, I interviewed him, and it took forever to come on the interview. Absolute forever. It's very selective. And I was talking to him, and I happened to mention about wood knocks because I'll tell you a funny thing, Kenny. When I've been out in the woods, like a lot of people, I've picked up sticks and baseball bats and all kinds of kind of stuff to try and mimic the same sound. Do you think I can mimic it exactly? No. It sounds different. When you hear a wood knock, anyone that's heard the wood knock in the distance or close by will know that it's got a sound to it that's unique. It's not exactly like a baseball bat hitting a tree. It's got more of a hollow kind of sound to it. It's a unique sound, and people listening will know what I'm talking about. It is a unique sound. I can't mimic that sound. A lot of people out there say, there's a few people anyway, but say, it's they make the noise with their mouth, so they go like this. If I'm sticking my finger in my mouth, like that. It's a pop. It's like a pop they make. I'm not so sure. I don't think so. When I was in an interview with Matthew A. Johnson, I was talking to him, and I happened to mention about wood knocks. He turned around to me and he said, "Well, you know what, Phil, with the Zanu, because he doesn't call them Bigfoot, he doesn't call them Sasquatch. With the Zanu, he said they're same beings, roughly same beings. He said, a matter of factly, he didn't play it up. He said, you know what they are, don't you? I was like, no. He said, it's where they enter and leave the trees. I'm like, sorry? He said, yeah, when they enter and leave the trees. He said when they go into a tree and you see them disappear or they merge, very often people do, this big hulking thing 4 foot across at the chest, and it went behind just disappeared. He said that's what they do, and that's the sound it makes when they disappear into a tree. And I gave that some thought. And when you couple that together with some of the witness testimony, that they do actually kind of they I saw one, Phil, honestly, it was walking along, huge thing, it's huge, and next thing it just went behind the tree and disappeared. Hang on a minute, how huge was it? It's 12 foot high, right? And it was what, 4 foot across, yeah, at least 4 foot wide, and just went across the tree, and you didn't see it come out the other side. No. And it kind of like clicked that maybe that could be. There's a lot of I could be entirely wrong, absolutely entirely wrong. But I still think we have to be open to, it could be like you say, it could be that it's, get out of the area as a warning sign, and go. I did have wood knocks, especially at one time. There's a particular wood. No, I took the dogs. I've got two Jack Russell Terriers. One's part Chihuahua, and he's the one with the usual spiked collar and the nose. Nasty one. He's the one I shoved forward when he's a Dogman. He's only tiny, but it's vicious. Anyway, so I was walking along, and it's not huge woods, not huge, but big enough. It's medium size. And there's one section of that backs on right at the edge of the wood. It backs onto a farmer's field, so you can see as you're walking along, and through the trees, you can see the open farmer's field. There's a path that leads up and around. It goes on the perimeter of the wood, if you like. So we're walking along that nice. Across the path was this fallen tree. I thought, that's odd, didn't see that the other day. Anyway, so I thought, do you know what? That means I've got to, because to my right hand side, I had to cross these brambles, and the brambles had all the spikes and everything on. So I looked at the dogs, they looked at me, I looked at them, they kind of looked and said, well, you're going to pick us up or what? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to pick you up. So one at a time, I picked them up and took them across the brambles to the other side. Ruby, the eldest one, she's like the black and white one, she turned around and something got her attention behind us. I got this on video, all of it, including the wood knocks. I got it on video. I was so lucky. So, because I had one of boom microphones, so they're directional. So I just happened to turn around at the time when you could hear them, and something got her attention. She was always been a good hunter. Now, when I say hunter, we don't have bear or anything like that over here, but what we do have, we have mice and rats and things like that. And with Jack Russells, they're fabulous. When in her younger days, she was a brilliant ratter, really good ratter. She used to sort of always come back with something yucky. But anyway, and something got her attention. She didn't like it. Teeth were showing. She was like this, I was like, "Hey, what's the matter? What's the matter?" I looked down the path. There's a long way back down this sort of path. On the left hand side was the field. On the right hand side, just thick wood. I couldn't go on any further because there was a fallen tree. I had no option but to lift them across. Basil, the half Chihuahua one, he was already across the brambles. I'd lifted him over. It was Ruby that didn't want to be lifted up because she was on defense mode. She heard something behind us. So I turned the camera around. I said to Basil, just wait there a minute, boy, wait there. I turned the camera around, looked, and I saw on video these two largish dark creatures. They were about 400, at least less than that. I'd say about 500 foot away from us. Quite some distance, 500 feet, but not enough. I'd wish it was further, put that way. You could quite clearly see them on video as well. And there was two of them. They had long muzzles and pointy ears, but they were moving very, very quickly. And it kicked her off, Ruby. She was really annoyed, if you like, on defense mode. She didn't go down any further, thank God. She didn't go down any further. She just held her ground, and that was it. So I just swept her up, saw these things, got it on video. Now, at the time, I didn't kind of, hang around getting it on video. I swept the camera back towards down the path to see what she was growling at, saw them, caught it, caught the wood knocks at the same time, And these were not Sasquatch. They weren't that big, but they were wiry, if you like, quite muscular legs, like human type legs, but very muscular, very, very dark, no clothing, muzzles, pointy ears. Two of them. One was slightly smaller than the other. I would say the largest one was around 7 to 8 foot tall at that distance. If you were to go back and measure against the tree, which I did, because it's one of my local woods, measure against the tree to where the camera picked them up, and you look at the video, you look at the tree, look at the video, and you measure it. It was around nearly 8 foot, 7.5 to 8 foot, roughly. Picked Ruby up, put her across the brambles with Basil, went across myself, and that was it. I went off. But a very, very distinctive wood knock. So when you turn around and say, yeah, it's to get out of the area, that also does make sense what you're saying. That also does make sense. It's kind of, because I heard the wood knocks before. Well, we heard the wood knocks before Ruby turned around and started like having a good old like moan about it. I heard the wood knocks, and that's what made her turn around, I think. And then she started, and that's what made me draw attention down the pathway. But that was one of the times that I managed to capture them on film and the wood knocks. A very distinctive sound, though, Kenny. Really distinctive sound.
So creepy right there. Again, super amazing stuff. And as we are starting to tie this up, that reminds me real quick before I do forget, there was a instance I had heard where somebody, same thing, claimed that they saw one of these Sasquatch walk into the tree. Interesting stuff. And then vanish. But the thing I did really want to touch on real quick about the get out of here aspect is you had another gentleman who saw a Sasquatch. It's not like a small little branch that you and I would be using, okay? It was a pretty large tree that it was holding in both hands. It was beating this tree off this other tree, and it threw down the large log, started like pounding his chest and like, yeah, just getting super pissed, right? And that's what I mean about that seems to say, all right, I'm giving you a warning, but you're really pressing your luck right now.
Yeah. I think they do. I mean, that's what I think. A lot of the when you see a lot of the teepee structures, not so much teepee maybe, but a lot of the large X's, and you see these trees when they've been uprooted and then upside down, and the tops of the trees stuck in the ground, and they're forming an X. I think that's boundary markers. I'm sure it's boundary markers. Absolutely positive of it. Positive now. Yeah. So, you see that, and you see like two trees, or even if they're not turned upside down, you see two trees, and usually what they'll be the elms, the white barked trees, those white ones, the white bark, they silver elms or something they're called. I'm not a tree person, but they're usually white barked. A lot of times they like to use, but they're going to be a large X, X, and that will be a boundary. It's like our area, piss off, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's no different than what primitive or even modern day humans do, or animals. Same thing. I mean, I've watched a coyote come over and mark its territory, then a large bear came by and marked his territory, then a pack of wolves were like, yeah, screw both of you, this is our squad, and they marked their territory all over it. It's not the same as necessarily putting the structures up, but same sort of philosophy as, hey, get out of here, all right? Because I mean, any animal that would smell the marking of the wolf would realize you're encroaching into an apex predator's territory. They gave you a warning. Now what happens next? Well, you probably should have thought of that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, when you're quite right. I think a lot of times with marking territory, I know going into woods and forests, you come across other like hunters and people investigators that go out there. You'll come into an area, and it's got a really pungent smell you'll come across. And it's about that time that, everything will go silent. You're in a bubble of silence. Whole forest goes silent. For some reason, it just goes, you're in this bubble of nothing. And you've got this real pungent smell going on. I think a lot of times that it's at moments like that that they've either marked the territory, or they're very close by. And animals around know when they're close by, and everything goes really, really quiet, very, very quiet. And it's a bit like with dogs. I go out with my two. If they see some fox poo, they're gonna roll in it, man. They're gonna roll in it because to them, by rolling in it, it masks their scent to a
Yeah.
certain degree. And they just like, it's just like, once again, they got to put them in the car, dude. It's like, what? I look at them, I go, not again. Why? You're not going
Yeah,
home.
exactly.
Why? You got to go in the car,
Yeah,
man. So the windows are
I
rolled
know,
down. You're
man.
just like, oh, damn,
It's the same thing like
yeah.
when the dogs eat the poo poo cookies with cats. Like I have a friend, I watch their dog and
Yeah.
I feed her so well. She always tries to go over to the cat box. You're like, no, dude, you nasty. No, no poo poo cookies. You have a big bowl of chicken and gravy. What are we doing here?
they get some they got some spot on food out there, and yet sometimes I see Basil, the half chihuahua one. He'll come up the garden, next door cat's been in the garden. He'll come up and he'll look like Winston Churchill with a cigar sticking out of his mouth, and you're like you're like, you get fed, man. You get fed really nice food. What
Yeah,
you doing, picking up like a cat poo in your mouth looking like a cigar. It's like
I know. A quick little funny story is like recently when I gave my squirrel a bath, I now have some stuff that doesn't really have a scent to it that I don't think she liked. Like smelling like some of the girls I hang out with because she ran right outside. This was in the spring and immediately took a huge sand bath. You're like, dude, I just got you so clean and blew dry you and everything, and you're all fluffed up, and now you're just rolling around in sand and dirt. Like, wow, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, yeah, thanks for the bath. Yeah. Screw
Yeah,
you.
get this smell off of me, dude. It's so funny. Because I mean, she honestly doesn't smell, but it's good to, like I said, make sure she doesn't have any mites on her or ticks or anything. So that
Yeah.
way, if
Yeah.
I have to bring
Yeah.
her to my friend to help, she swims around the bathtub and stuff. But yeah, she definitely doesn't like the really, feminine smelling necessities, apparently.
Yeah, that's funny, dude. Can you imagine? I bet she just like turns around, and looks at you like in the sandbox. She's like, "Yeah, screw you, get it."
Yeah, right.
All that
It's
hard
so
work. Yeah, that's it. You smile. All that hard work for nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing.
absolutely nothing, dude. Nothing at all. I'm just gonna sit here and take a nice dirt bath, and you're like, all right, well, let's put some sand in the
Yeah.
bathtub for you next time, huh? So that's so funny,
Oh
dude. But
man.
awesome
But yeah.
stuff. Well, is there anything else you would like to touch base on tonight, my friend, before we do let you get back to your busy schedule?
No, no, I'm fine. Anyone that wants to catch up with us, then they're more than welcome. Dogman Teepee Hunting. I'll just whack that now. Thank you for that. I'm on live on Fridays at 7 p.m. That's Greenwich Mean Time. Uh, uh, so YouTube, Facebook, and yeah, I'll be glad to see you. If you got any anything that you want to send us photo wise, then that's fine because I often on the live I put up all the photos and of people that have sent me and video. I could do short video on there, not long. Don't send me like 2 hours of video. I ain't gonna do that. But if you want to send us like short snippets or shorts, that's fine. I can like put those up on the live so that it gets your stuff out there and it gets stuff shown. Because the more we share, as you're doing, Kenny, the more we share and share about, the better it is for everyone because this subject is one of those that if it's shared, it kind of there's a lot of people out there that just think that's happened to them. It hasn't just happened to you. A lot of people have had experiences. So you're not alone out there, and there is people to talk to, like Kenny. You're brilliant. Your show is wonderful. For that, Kenny.
Appreciate you, man. Such kind words to the audience out there. This will be the conclusion of the meeting of the Midnight Society for the early hours of the morning. Phil, aka Dogman Teepee Hunting, has many things he needs to attend to, but no worries, he is a bi weekly host. You can always check out our previous episodes, be on the lookout for new ones. Or as Phil said, definitely pop on over to his thread. The links will be up in the description of the video. And if you do like to watch somebody go live more, actually be able to see them when they interact with people, Phil's got you covered. Not totally my swag over here, as I do get a better setup. I will make occasional appearances. Yeah, as an artist and graphics designer, it really seems logical to use my skill set as well to create amazing imagery to cause terror to individuals as well. I do appreciate you hanging out with us tonight, my friend.
Oh no, thank you very much for giving me the time and letting me go rabbiting on. I do that really rather well, I know, but appreciate it, and I appreciate all of you that are listening. And thank you for having me on your show, Kenny. It's a brilliant show. Really enjoy it.
Ooh, you legends, you. I do adore every single one of you, and thank you for stopping in tonight. Please like, comment, subscribe, feed, and share the algorithm. Until next time, stay safe out there and be good people.